What's going on, everyone? Climate data report here for today's long-range outlook. Taking a look here, we're going to look at the NAM model because we do have some severe weather to talk about going into Thursday. So let's take a look here at the NAM model, and you will see that there is definitely a severe weather threat for portions of Texas and parts of the Gulf Coast region as we go into Thursday, and then again on Friday as well. As you can see here on the NAM, there are storms that will evolve over Texas and then work their way into portions of Arkansas, Oklahoma, and Louisiana. This threat will then shift into the Gulf Coast states on Friday. With this threat, there could be isolated tornadoes in Texas and maybe even a few tornadoes in the Gulf Coast states. There will also be a strong wind threat with these storms where winds could gust up to 60 miles per hour. The SPC for this threat already has a slight risk up for portions of Texas, Oklahoma, southwest Arkansas, and western Louisiana. I do think another slight risk is going to be added for the Friday time frame for the Gulf Coast states. They're not showing it yet, but I do anticipate it's going to be added. Their probabilities here are at 15% at this point, and again, as I said, there could be an isolated tornado or two with this. Now let's jump over to the GFS model and take a look at the other aspect of this system. Reminder, this is the same system that has come on California today and produced the additional flooding, the additional rainfall, the additional mountain, snows, wind, everything. Well, this is also going to produce snow in portion of the Great Lakes across Wisconsin and even portions of Minnesota where heavy snowfall could fall from the system. 4 to 8 inches is what I'm expecting on Thursday evening. There could be isolated amounts up to 10 inches. This system's going to continue east, and as you can see here on the GFS, Friday evening across Alabama, Georgia, and even the Florida Panhandle, you do have that severe weather threat. That threat will shift into Florida. I think it's going to be a marginal threat for Florida, but nonetheless, it's something we have to watch. Perhaps they get added for a slight risk. Once we move on from the severe weather threat in Florida and on from the threat in the Great Lakes, we do still have that area of low pressure that's going to be continuing northeast. Very cold air for March standards moves in behind this system. You are talking strong winds for a large number of people, all the way from Oklahoma right on up into Maine, and that is going to puncture in extremely cold air. How cold are we talking? Let's take a look at the temperatures here on GFS. As you can see here, 18Z on Saturday. Here comes the cold air. Look at this. In the plains, yeah, the northern plains, these are temperatures below zero on Sunday morning. And you have temperatures in the low to mid-20s up and down the I-95 corridor. Factor in it's going to be very windy. Wind chills may be in the teens to low 20s at best in these areas. Even up in the Great Lakes and back across the northern plains, wind chills, yeah, could be in the teens to single digits. And up here in the plains, North Plains, try wind chills possibly below zero. Moving on to Monday morning, similar deal. It's still going to be relatively cold. This is a multi-day cold snap, and if you have crops down in the south, you're looking at a hard freeze again. Look in Georgia here. That's 29 degrees on GFS in central Georgia in March. Your plants are going to be potentially suffering some damage from this. And even on Tuesday morning, again, all the way down to Tennessee, you're still dealing with cold temperatures. There's something else that we want to take a look at on the GFS. To add with this, there's also the threat of a coastal system that comes out of the Gulf of Mexico. There could be some rare late or mid to late March snow, as at this point you're at March 22nd, and it's showing a coastal system coming up across Florida out of the Gulf. And yes, that is snow in northern Georgia and northwest South Carolina, and it's something we're going to have to watch. The GFS has been showing it come up the coast, albeit compared to the previous runs, this run is a little bit different, but nonetheless, we have to keep watching it. And I think it is a threat that is worth watching. And we're going to take a look here at the Canadian. The Canadian model also has the storm system. So here's the Canadian for the severe weather. It shows it quite well over Louisiana. Here comes the cold air, and watch what happens behind us. It's a little bit different timing on the Canadian, but again, it does have the system in some way, shape, or form. It shows a low going over the Carolinas, and that becomes a coastal system off the Delmarva, and it continues northeast. The Canadian is a little bit warmer with the system than GFS has been. The 60 GFS actually showed a snowstorm along the I-95 corridor. It's too soon to say whether or not that will happen, but definitely know there is going to be something at that time frame, because here's the GEFS ensembles, and look what's happening here. The GEFS does show an area of low pressure coming out of the Gulf of Mexico. It's showing many different solutions, with the lean on the GEFS being more northwest. So it's suggesting that many members are saying, you know what, I think this is going to be a coastal system. I think it's going to be more northwest. And take a look at the precipitation. 24-hour precip map, yeah, it's already going half an inch, which for a mean at 198 hours out, that's pretty impressive to be seeing a half of an inch of precipitation advertised over the Carolinas, Virginia, and yes, it's even showing precipitation probabilities across portions of Pennsylvania and New Jersey. So we have to be an eye on this for the potential for yet another storm next week in the Northeast, but also in the Mid-Atlantic. The West Coast, yes, the West Coast could see another storm next week. Watch what happens here on the Canadian. Look to the west. Let's change the region here to make this more easy for you to see. Here's the western coast. Another system comes on shore this Sunday. Not as strong as the one that came on shore today. Then you have more activity that comes on early and mid next week. And this one right here that the Canadian is showing for middle of next week, it really produces heavy rainfall for California, and the mountain regions do get another round of snow. Behind that, look at this, 240 hours out now, but still action hitting the west coast. Let's take a look at the temperatures from the Climate Prediction Center. As you can see here, the 6 to 10 day temperature outlook shows below average temperatures across much of the country. The only area that's near normal is up in the northeast, and down in Miami, Florida, you do get slightly above average temperatures. 8 to 14 day outlook shows slightly above average temperatures in the northeast and in the south, near normal for the rest of the east, but below average temperatures continue for the western U.S. Taking a look here at the precipitation amounts, well above average precipitation continues for the next 6 to 10 days across California. As you saw, multiple more systems come on shore. Finally, some drier below average precipitation in the northeast. That system that's going to be coming through the Great Lakes and also providing severe weather in the south. It doesn't really provide much precipitation for the mid-Atlantic or northeast, just some showers as the front comes through. Florida, slightly above average precipitation for you. Finally, taking a look at the 8 to 14 day precipitation outlook shows above average precipitation is going to continue in the west, and that's really the case for the foreseeable future. We don't really get a big dry stretch out there. Near normal precipitation in Texas, and the rest of the eastern portions of the country is above average precipitation. Alrighty, thanks for watching this video. If you found this content to be informative and helpful to you, maybe it keeps you safe, give the video a like down below, and if you want to see my future content, hit the subscribe button down below. You can always reach me on Facebook or on Twitter with the links down below to that. Have a great day and see you again next time.